Do you actually need a car to come and visit Banff National Park? If you're planning a trip here, I'm sure that is something that is high up on your question list, because being able to get to all the sites you want to see is an important part of being able to make sure you make the most of this beautiful experience. For a little bit of background, Banff is actually quite a large national park. It goes from 20 minutes out of the town all the way until about 2 hours down the Icefields Parkway. So there's a pretty big span of space which is considered Banff. On top of that, there are so many beautiful parks around here, such as Kootenay National Park, Kananaskis, Jasper National Park, like Golden, places like that. There are so many beautiful places that are also around here but not considered Banff, which you may want to be able to get to on your trip. So whether you're going to need a car is going to depend largely on what type of trip you want to have and how many places you do want to see while you're in the area. Before we get too far into the video, I do want to preface things by saying that there are many more transport options available to you during summer compared to winter. As we go through the video, I'm going to highlight the different options that you have for the time that you are coming, but that is an important consideration to make. So summer here is considered kind of June to the end of August. The summer options do run a little bit longer, some starting after May long weekend and running as long as October long weekend. But then winter obviously is quite a long span, so that is something to really consider as well. So the first thing to actually consider is, how are you going to get to Banff? Our nearest airport is Calgary International Airport, which is about an hour and a half away, and your options to get here are either hire a car, book a shuttle, or organize a rideshare through an app such as Pop a Ride. In winter, your public transport shuttle options to get to Banff are much more limited. I know Banff Airporter is a great company that run year round and do door-to-door drop-offs. They are the only ones off the top of my head that I know of that are definitely running all the time. On the flip side of that, during summer you have many more options. So you still have Banff Airporter, but you also have On-It Bus, which I know a lot of people have used. It is only about a $10 fare with quite a good schedule as well. That doesn't take you to the airport, but it takes you to Calgary, so you can get a cheap Uber from the airport to where you need to go. There's also things such as Brewster, Canada Bus, and lots more options for you. Now, once you've made it to the town of Banff, the Rome public transport buses are quite a good option for you here. The Route 1 and 2 and 3 are all year-round routes. Granted, the schedule does get a little bit more reduced in winter compared to summer, but the Route 1 and 2 buses will get you pretty much anywhere you need to go around town for the most part. The Route 3 bus will get you to Canmore, so if you're staying in Canmore, that is a great piece of information to have. Or if you just want to go visit for a day, that bus will get you from the town of Banff over to the town of Canmore, which is about 20 minutes away. When you're traveling with Rome too, fares are fairly cheap in my opinion. I know some places, if you're staying in accommodation, will also get you a free bus pass for that stay. But otherwise, trips I think are about $2 each, and then I think a day fare is $5, which is really not too bad. So you can either pay on board with exact cash, you can get an app called Token Transit, which I would recommend because you can pre-purchase a pack of fares and then you just tap your phone when you get on. Super duper easy. Or there are ticket booths, but they are located not at all the stops, only at the main one, I think, at the Banff High School Transit Hub. Now, if you are coming for summer, on top of those routes, you also have access to Lake Louise, Lake Minnewanka, and Johnson Canyon through the Rome bus as well. Now, the fares might be a little bit different, but that is a great way to get out to these further sites and be able to see them while still not having a car, not having to worry about parking, and having that ease of transport. On top of that, all the ski hills around here do open for summer operations. So if you haven't seen my videos, go and check those out because I have toured those ski hills so far this summer and I think it is a great fun activity to do. And on top of that, they do still offer free shuttles. So you can get from the town of Banff up to Sunshine Village on their free shuttle and go and do a day trip there without having to have a car. There are also a range of locations that may be on your bucket list or travel itinerary that are not accessible by public transport at any time. Locations like this include the Icefields Parkway, Peyto Lake, Emerald Lake, and many popular trailheads such as Boom Lake, Eeyore, East End of Rundle, Harling, things like that. Even grassy lakes you can't get to without a car. Now, you can sometimes get to these places with tours. The tours in the area have phenomenal offerings, and you can definitely shop around to see what you like and what works for you. But these obviously do come with a significant cost, and they can come with a restriction on how you travel and how much time you have at these places. So that is something to be aware of, especially if you want to make it out to the Isoldes Parkway, which is the most stunning drive between Banff National Park and Jasper National Park. You will need a car or an organized tour for things like that. Also to note, if you want to get to Moraine Lake, which is my favorite place ever, you cannot get there with a car regardless. So if you choose to or to not have a car, doesn't matter as much, because you still need to organize either a shuttle or a private tour to get there. Private cars are not permitted unless you have a disability or you are staying at the Moraine Lake Lodge. So just something to be aware of. Now, if you are looking to get out to Moraine Lake, I would highly recommend booking shuttle tickets in advance. You will need to get to Lake Louise, so you will need either a car to get there or a public bus. But once you're there, you can use Moraine Lake Bus Company, which are a fabulous local owned company that started up this year to shuttle you in there. They do sunrise, which is the best time to visit in my opinion, and they do all day trips as well. Fares start from about $35. So if you're interested in that, there is a link in my bio where you can purchase tickets as well. Now, in saying all of that, if you are coming to downtown Banff and you are only here for a couple of days, and you're predominantly spending most of your time in the town or at those major tourist sites, I would actually advise against getting a car. Congestion can get super bad, especially around peak summertime. You also have to pay for parking in majority of the town. There is one free parking lot, and that is at the Banff train station. It's about an 8-minute walk once you park into downtown Banff. But congestion is just horrible. Coming from someone who lives here and does have to drive sometimes, it is painful to get a spot. And if you are here on a holiday, it is not worth your time and hassle when you could just be walking in or catching the public bus. On the flip side of that, if you are coming to Banff for a bit more of an extended period of time, or your goal is not to actually spend much time in the town of Banff, instead you want to go out and you're hiking or you're camping or you're going to visit those spots that are a little bit more like hidden gem or off the main itineraries that most people have, then I would suggest having a car. Having a car does mean that you have absolute freedom over where you go, when you do things, and how much time you spend at places. While I do absolutely love tours, I think sometimes it is nice to be able to just step back and do things at your own pace as well. So that is something to consider depending on what style of travel you want to do and how much time you actually have here. If you're planning your trip to come in winter though, you can still use the Route 1, 2 and 3 buses that can still get you all around the town of Banff and to Canmore, although they will be at a reduced schedule. At the moment in summer, they're running about every 15 minutes, if not sooner. It's amazing, but that definitely does drop down to maybe every half an hour or so during winter. Still completely accessible, but just something to keep in mind when you're planning, if you're looking at the right schedule or not. On top of that, if you are coming for a ski holiday, do not worry about having a car. Every one of the ski hills around Banff National Park, Mount Northway, Lake Louise and Sunshine Village all have free shuttle buses that take you there and that bring you back. I think this is a great way. They drop you straight at the front door so you're ready to get on that lift or gondola. It saves you the hassle of parking and is quite an easy and awesome alternative to having your own car. They have these services for us, so we may as well use them. If you're coming in winter though, I do want to note that those extra routes to Lake Minnewanka, Johnson Canyon and Lake Louise with Rome do not operate in the winter. Moraine Lake as well is not accessible at all during winter. That whole road closes from October long weekend until early June just due to avalanche risk, so that is something you won't be able to see if you're coming then. And then all of those spots I mentioned that are car accessible only during summer are also car accessible only during winter if they are still accessible. Based on that, if you are coming in winter and you're not here for a ski holiday necessarily, or your main goal is to do a bit more sightseeing, then I would recommend getting a car. Obviously that is going to come with a little bit more logistics, being that it is winter. You do need to have snow tires and you need to be able to safely drive in the snow as well. Because transport options are more reduced and tour options are more reduced as well, it it would be a good idea to have a car so you can get to those places that you want to see. One of my favorite things to do in winter is to go out on a winter hike or snowshoe and go see like frozen waterfalls and things like that. And a lot of those opportunities won't be available to you if you don't have a vehicle to get around in. So I think you're probably picking up by now, I don't think there is a perfect yes or no answer. I think it highly depends on what you want to get out of your trip to Banff National Park and how much of surrounding areas you want to see and whatnot as well. But I hope that has been a helpful overview of what you can expect on tour and public transport wise based on when you are coming. Now before I go, I have a few extra little tips and things to consider which might be helpful for you. Firstly, if you decide you do need a car, but you don't need it for the entirety of your trip, we do have a car rental place in Banff. So I have actually rented from there before and it was so easy. So you could just rent a car for 1 day or 2 days and just have that whole time to go see the things you want to see by car, and then you can do the rest of your trip without a car. That's going to save you hassle parking at your hotel if there isn't parking, or having to drive it around town, things like that. So a short-term rental option is also something you can consider. On top of that, if you are coming on a budget, parking is going to cost you. So I would highly advise either parking at the free parking, which you can do at the train station, or skip the car and then just get a bus pass, because you are going to save money on that and you're going to save yourself stress as well. Finally, I think my biggest takeaway is that going car free is definitely going to be a less stressful experience. It is going to work out probably a bit cheaper as well, and you will still be able to access a lot of things. However, I think some of the best spots in Banff National Park are the things that you cannot get to by public transport. It's where the less people are, and there are just beautiful, beautiful hidden trails and gems and things like that around. So if you have the time and capacity and you want to go out and see things, maybe it is something to add into your trip plan. Either way, I hope that has been really helpful for you guys. If you like this content, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It is a huge help to me. But otherwise, I will see you in the next video. If you have any last minute questions, pop them down in the comments and I will happily respond to you. Otherwise, I'll see you next time. Bye guys.